Right.
Yay.
Yay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience. Goddess Star and I were having some technical difficulties, but we worked them out, thankfully. So
Yes.
here we are with part 3 of the different types of witchcrafts. I want to say hi to everybody in the chat room. And I guess I need to mute myself. There, that is. And excellent news for those of you who are worrying about our feedback. We have found out what the problem is. So tonight will hopefully be the last night that you will have to deal with it, because Goddess Star looked into it and she found the answer, but we just didn't have the chance to address it. So that's good news for that. Now, as always, before we begin, we like to cast a circle of protection around us. And also, I forgot to introduce as my beautiful Goddess Star in her gorgeous yellow,
I know,
looking
right?
like
The yellow.
sunshine.
Hi, everyone. And I'm going to say, okay, it is the first and only time you guys will ever see me in anything but my black mostly. I don't like yellow, but here it is. And I was getting compliments all day. So,
You look nice in yellow. Why won't you wear it?
because it's just not me, but I'm wearing it. I'm wearing it. Okay. I'm wearing it. But look how beautiful Goddess Rhonda looks. Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and cast our circle so we can get this party started. All hail, our lords and ladies of the East, our brothers and sisters, our brother and patron, the sacred element of air, namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. We charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you. So it is. So might it be.
So it is, and so mote it be. All hail our lords and ladies of the South, my brothers and sisters, my brother and patron, the sacred element of fire. Namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge you, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction. From corner to corner and end to end, let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is, so mote it be.
So it is. So might it be. All hail, our lords and ladies of the West, our brothers and sisters, our sister and patron, the sacred element of water, namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you. So it is. So mote it be.
So it is, and so mote it be. And all hail, our lords and ladies of the North, my brothers and sisters, my sister and patron, the sacred element of earth. Namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge you, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is, so mote it be.
So it is. So mote it be. And we now bring down the divine white light from the sacred source of all well-being and fill all of our spaces with peace and protection always. So it is. So mote it be.
So it is, and so mote it be.
All right, everyone, we are back. I hope everyone is handling these retrograde energies that are about to drive me crazy. If it's just, there's just so many of them going on that it can be a little hard to navigate it, but it's all good and it's just a test. So let's go. Oh, first, Goddess Star, let's have an update for Witchfest.
Oh, right. Yes, yes, yes. I hope you're all coming down in one form or another to visit us for Witchcrafts. I had to change up some things since the last time when I spoke last Monday. Due to cost, we have to give up the Friday and the Sunday because we didn't have enough people registered. They were interested, but unfortunately, we kept saying, you have to register for us to be able to afford to pay for the spaces because we're occupying a lot of time. So they're giving us a week before the event to let us yay or nay so that they can open those slots up if we're not using it. So I had to then tell them that we don't have enough registrants. And I'm certainly not coming out of pocket to accommodate people. And then who knows if they show up or not. So, you know what? We just kind of said we gave it our good try. And, we did offer it all to everyone. And the amazing amount of presenters, including you guys, Rhonda, and myself, and all the others that we had coming in to do the Friday and the Sunday. But it didn't quite work out for that, and that's okay, maybe it wasn't meant for this year, but everybody's all stepped up and said they're willing to do it and give it another try for next year, 2018, for the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So this year we're just going back to being what we were, which is on the Saturday from 10 to 4. And of course, we're having the parade at 9 o'clock at Union Square, where everyone's meeting to have the first annual Witch Pride Parade. And that's basically just to let everyone know, because there's a pagan pride, there's a gay pride, there's a pride for just about everything except witches. And we should be proud of who we are in whatever form or traditions that we're in. We should be proud of that. So we're having that first annual one starting at 9 o'clock, and coming down to Witches Fest, and we begin all day, and you're gonna meet us all there on Saturday, July 15th, from 10 to 4. And there are going to be many workshops offered. I think there are 16 workshops offered free for you all to access, and about 60 different vendors. I think you guys are all going to enjoy it, and we have wonderful performers. So do come on down and enjoy. It is basically taking and turning, like Goddess Rhonda have said it many a times, and I'm going to repeat what she said, that we take that whole block and turn it into our own magical realm. So we're asking you guys all to come down and enjoy that time in that realm with us. All right? And we'll see you then.
Yes, please come, because it really is a beautiful event that's put on, and it transforms a street in Manhattan into this beautiful fantasy realm. It's really very cool. So I really hope that you guys can come out and join us, because it really is a beautiful event.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started with where we left off last week, which is
the spirit working.
Okay, spirit working, a practice in which the person will perform spell work in conjunction with or with the help of any manner of spirit. This includes Ouija boards, demon spirits, spiritual contacts, etc. Now, I'll be honest, I've never heard of Ouija board spellcraft. I've never heard of anyone casting a spell with a Ouija board. I don't know what the validity of that is. I personally have never heard of it.
Yeah.
But I do know a lot of people who have gotten in trouble with Ouija boards.
Yes.
Because they have no clue as to what they're doing, and they conjure things up, not realizing, anybody. I could say I'm going to conjure my Aunt Okie, and a spirit can show up and say, yeah, it's Aunt Okie over here. And, so a lot of people who are inexperienced, who don't know how to set up certain protections and things like that, they've gotten into a lot of trouble. I've had to clear a lot of houses of people who have played with Ouija boards without any kind of experience with them. So I personally don't know about, do you know about casting spells with a Ouija board?
Not casting spells with a Ouija board, but I do. And like I said, I'm hearing a bit of feedback, but please be aware that according to what we've been told, we've solved the problem as of next time. So bear with us this time. Okay, what was I saying? Regarding the Ouija board, I've never heard of anyone doing actual, at least as witches, casting spells with it, but I have heard of high magicians doing that because of the type of work that they do. Working with different spirits. The issue that I have with it is because, like I said, like you have said, actually, a lot of people are not experienced with it, and they really believe, and I think I call it arrogance, the arrogance of man, that they believe that these spirits and beings from before time, or some of them has been there in these different realms, and they are deceptive. That's what they do. And like you said, you can call on Aunt Annie Oakley or whoever it is you want to call on, but that's not usually who you get. And they will tell you and mimic that person because that's what you want to hear. And so again, they're very deceptive. And demon spirits are not something that you want to work with. And it's not Ouija from the very beginning. And the word Ouija just means yes, yes in French and German. That's all it does. And that's all it means. But if you, in terms of spirit contact, there's so many other more receptive ways of reaching out for spiritual contact or for spell work, that to include something like the Ouija board, where pretty much you're rolling the dice as to what you're going to get. And the majority of times, 99.9% of the time with a Ouija board, you're not getting who you're working with that you think you are. They're going to fool you. They're going to lie to you. They're going to say whatever you want to hear to make you comfortable. That's what they do. And you are pulling through spirits, because I have seen in one instance, a young man I was working with in my second degree class, brilliant young guy. But again, the arrogance of man. I don't mean gender. I'm just saying man as in human beings. Okay.
Right.
And he literally sat there in the class. We were teaching about Ouija just for the fact that of what we've seen people do over the time. You and I have seen in that whole warrior bit of how we go out and help people out of certain things. We have seen people do or the harm, and we come in to try to help them in certain things. And there he was in the class doing exactly what we just finished telling him he should not do. And he is arrogantly saying, no, we talk all the time and he's safe and he's this and his name is this and whatever. And the next thing we knew, he was being pulled into towards the board. And it took about 4 or 5 of us, along with myself, anchoring and saying, and I'm shouting at whatever it was that was there. You can see it and feel it, to let him go. We're done. Enough. And we had to push it back at the board and everything. And because he was still holding on to it as a best friend, it took us a long time to break it. And you saw him literally, when the break finally happened, he just got pushed back against the wall. And we were like, you don't know what you're doing. And he's like, no, that's my friend. I'm like, no, it's not your friend. That's what they will do to you. That's what they will make you think, and a lot of them utilize it for that, and then realize later on, because now you would hear him saying, I can't seem to get rid of it. And I'm like, but you have not only invited this being in all this time, you've called them your best friend. So what do you expect? It's not going to get away just like that, because it's latched onto you. That's what they do. So I would always suggest to people, if this is what you're willing to do, please educate yourself about it in a proper manner. Learn how to protect yourself with it. There's a whole series of it that you need to do when you're dealing with things like that. And that's why with the high magicians, a lot of them do not use the Ouija. They contact them through different means or different rituals that they do. And again, they put into place so many wards and so many things to protect themselves. There is a reason that they do that. So please don't pretend that you're arrogant enough to know what you're doing, or that these are all true, when the majority of times it's not, because that's what they do. That's what they will do best. Fool man. Okay? That's just my thought on it, just to let everyone know. Because
no, you're absolutely right. I have had to clear so many houses from people screwing around with Ouija boards. And if even as Goddess Star pointed out what Ouija means, yes, yes. What does that say to you? It's saying almost like the intentions are, you are going to pull in spirits that say, yes, I'm your Aunt Mary. Yes, I can bring you riches. Yes, I can help you to do this. Yes, I'm your friend. Yes, yes, yes. They're giving positive, I should say false positives. It's almost like the board is saying, whatever you say, we're going to say yes. We're going to say whatever you want to make you happy. Because we want to
become your bestie.
The name of the board is a warning to you that there's a good chance you're going to conjure up someone who's just going to pretend to be whoever you want. And, the high magicians, like Goddess Star said, they are highly trained. They have all kinds of boards in place. And this is their form of magic. And these are their friends that they communicate with, that they have relationships with. It's not something for a novice to really, let's pull out the Ouija board and conjure up grandma or whatever it is to get her chocolate chip cookie recipe. it can be a very dangerous thing. So if you're not skilled in what you're doing, please don't do that, or conjure up demons or any other kind of spirit unless you know how to properly defend yourself. Because like I said, you can say, well, I'm going to call Goddess Isis to come in and help me. Anybody can show up and say, yep, it's me, Goddess Isis, here at your service. What can I do for you? While they wreak havoc into your life. So really be careful with that. You know, that's something you want to do as an experienced metaphysician, as opposed, if you're just starting out, then please don't do this, because you have no idea the problems that conjuring up spirits can cause if you don't know how to deal with them. And guess what? You can conjure up one spirit and they can bring their friends, and their friends will come to the party too.
Yeah.
It can be a real issue. So, and I've seen it, and I've had to fix these issues.
Yeah, as you're saying that, yeah, I've seen it myself, and I'm just sitting there thinking to myself that there are so many other means of doing it, and even high magicians, they use other means. They do not use the Ouija. They do not, because there are reasonings for that. Because even in what they are doing, and it's more controlled than with a Ouija, and even then, it's still out of control in some ways, because they're dealing with entities older than time. So if that's the case, a lot of them learn to respect it, or you will see a lot of times after a while the person that you knew has changed. You could almost see a change on them physically, mentally, everything. It's almost like if they're not entirely all there. And what I term it as, and I call it all the time, I say someone's being ridden. A spirit is riding that individual. They don't leave them alone. They will keep riding that individual. They will bother them. They will hear things. It's as if they themselves are going insane. And you watch it, and these people are thinking that they're in control of all of these things, and they're not. So it's my whole thing with it is that I don't care how well trained you are. A lot of times, even the so-called high magicians have been ridden, and ridden hard, and have had to literally leave that kind of practice, or they've become mentally insecure, or different things that has happened to them, and they are the ones that are supposedly very highly trained. So I just don't know how anyone can sit back and think arrogantly that I'm so well trained I can do this, and nothing's going to ride me, nothing's going to whatever. Well, you're dealing with spirits that are older than time, so anything can happen.
They have more experience than you, if they're older than time. But also, they not just will actually inhabit your body. They will inhabit your home. They'll open portals up. They will turn your home into their home. And they will jump inside of you. And I've had so many parents bring their teenagers to me, because all of a sudden their teenagers are screwing around with the Ouija board, and suddenly they've been becoming angry. And more so than I know that teenagers can be very hormonal and erratic. But I mean, like, you really know something is wrong. They're cursing at people and don't want to talk to anybody and staying in their rooms, like, in a really bad mood. And their friends are like, what's the matter with you? They completely change. And because something is inside of them, or something is whispering in their ear to upset them. Because don't forget, these entities they're parasitic. They're feeding on your energy. Either they want to use your body to get around, because the human body is extremely coveted by the spiritual realm. They feel that we're real lucky down here because we can enjoy physical things and physical pleasures. But also they will create the energy within that person that they feed off of. So if they feed off of fear, they will keep that person in a state of fear all the time. If they feed off of depression, they will keep that person on the edge of suicide all the time, whispering all kinds of things in their ear. It all depends on what they choose to eat, what their food is. And they will work that person like their very own emotional farm to produce the food that feeds them. And that's where you'll see the changes coming in and coming over that person. Now, thankfully, you bring someone like that to us and we will fix them. and get that thing off of them and cast them out and vanquish them. But we're just telling you all this so that you can be aware to just, it sounds like, oh, let's get a Ouija board and try to cast a spell with it, or get a spirit to come down and help us with our issues. It's not a good idea. There are so many other ways that you can do things, and the consequences to dealing with any kind of these spirits it's just not worth it. And they will use you as a walking farm to produce the food that they feed off of. And one of their favorite things to do is to get you into a mental institution, to get you into the mental health care, because now nobody's going to believe you. They're just going to say, oh, well, Rhonda's crazy. That's why she's saying that. Let's give her some more pills, and let's put her in a room where she can't hurt herself and be restrained or whatever, because this thing is causing all this. Now they've got you. They really have you, because no one is going to believe you. You're going to be medicated, and a lot of those medications can make it easier for them to take over.
Yep.
I honestly and truly believe that if you sent a bunch of us exorcists into a mental institution, I bet we could clear out half of those people by doing ritual on them.
Yep.
To get those things off of them, because that's what they feed on. You just become a farm. And so it really is, you have to really think about whatever it is you're trying to do, whoever it is you're trying to communicate, is it worth the risk? If it's not worth the risk, don't do this. Don't do it, because believe me, I've had to, and Scott Star has had to try to repair the damages that have been done through this. And you can see a lot of people that, I honestly feel it really is my personal opinion that the mental institutions that we have, that they are filled with
people being ridden.
Where you have people saying, well, there's voices talking to me. Well, these could be latent mediums and do have spirits talking to them. But the doctors aren't going to believe that, or they can be taken over by someone else, or speaking to them, even someone who they say, I'm not discounting that there is such a thing as multiple personality disorder. It's well documented. And I'm sure that there are people who legitimately suffer from this challenge. However, I also believe that there are people who are inhabited by multiple spirits that just come out when they feel like it and say what they want to say. And that person, the host, the body, has no way of knowing that or explaining that, because whenever you hear about these cases, the human host blacks out. They don't know what the other personality is doing, because that spirit is taken over so strongly. So we're just gonna, we're not saying, listen, don't ever do any kind of spirit magic. That's not up to us. That's up to you, and you have free will, and you can do anything you want. What we are saying is, please consider the consequences, or if you decide to go ahead and try something like that, and then you come out of it and suddenly you're inundated with bad luck, or your head's always hurting, or you just feel like something is wrong, or you're lashing out at people and that's not who you typically are, then immediately get yourself to someone to fix that up, because that can really happen. And they will especially attack teenagers, because teenagers, they don't have the maturity, their brain's not finished developing yet, and they have very tasty energy because of their hormones. They've got all this energy and all this angst and all this stuff going on. They are perfect to groom for this type of behavior, because their emotions are already erratic because of the things going on and the physiological changes going on. So really just be really, really careful with that before you people up. I personally don't know why anyone would call up a demon anyway, or anything like that, but that's just, so you might be saying, well, I wasn't going to call a demon, I just wanted to talk to grandma. Guess what? You can talk to grandma without the Ouija board. Grandma hears you. Just talk to her right in your head. You don't need to do this and open up that kind of a portal. So anyway, I guess we've ranted about that. And the reason we're ranting about it is because of how many
we've had to deal with,
and homes that we've had to deal with because of this one particular issue. It's like half the reasons why I have to go in and either clear people or clear their homes and their spaces. So there
Right,
we are
right.
with spirit working. All right,
Yeah.
Goddess Star, what do we got next?
Before we go on, I wanted to kind of say what some of them have said in the chat room. Okay. I think Nate, as old school, no school like old school said, well said, Goddess Star. It is important to remember that diviners and those trained as ancestral translators aren't in it for fun or for kicks. The Ouija is the fast food of spiritual summoning. Very well said.
Very well.
That's very well said. And then he said, bad for you, and who knows how many cows are in those burgers. And then J.K. says, won't use it. And she also said, I use cards, runes, astrology, etc., of course, but the Ouija, not. Nope, not doing it. And then Nate says, I throw the bones, and there is a long protocol of who is allowed to speak through them, and it starts with those who have crossed over and are most familiar with it. They also guard it superbly. And then he said, diviners relying on ancestors who divined is a good practice. And then Jakey said that I've heard of bone casting. I know, right? Jakey said, I've heard of bone casting and feel safer with that than the board. And maybe some of those entities that are older than time are really, really bored.
That's why I'm
laughing.
why you as a toy if they're bored.
Yeah. And they do want to be your bestie for a reason, so okay. So going on to the next one, draconian refers to type of magic for those who call upon or work with dragons and dragon imagery in their practice, whether it be through astral matters or in spells and rituals. And for that, I actually have, there is a, I didn't know I would be doing that part. Had I known, I would have brought it with me, because I do have 2 books written by DJ Conway on dragon magic and getting to know the dragons. And I love working with dragons. I think they're one of the beings that are old, and they're very wise. The only thing is, you do have to know, working with dragons, because they're old and wise, they really don't like you just calling on them. But those 2 books by DJ Conway, if you're really interested in working with dragons, read a lot from that book. They're very educational about how to do and what not to do, because some of the things that I always try to tell people, the older the beings are, the more they really don't like being disturbed just for trivial things. But they don't like you calling on them just for calling on them's sakes, okay? Because some people, depending on the type of ritual that they're doing, they have a tendency to, I guess, mix up what I term mixing up their callings. Say, for instance, you're working on your quarters and they're calling the circle or casting the circle. They would literally say, I'm calling on the salamanders for fire, right? And they're doing that. But then they'll call on the elemental dragon of that dragon for the next thing. Or they will call on the angel at the next thing. They're mixing up the different types of beings that they're working with at the quarters and things like that. And I don't suggest that. If you're going to do it, work with all the angels on the quarters, or work with all the elements on the quarters, or the elementals on those quarters. And if you're working with the dragons, again, do not just call on dragons just to say, I am calling on the dragons. Get to know them. They do not like people who they consider rude, who do not introduce themselves to them. They're ancient beings, very, very wise. And they're very much into manners. So you have got to get to know them and, learn to work with them and not just demand things. They find that they don't like it. First of all, they're bigger and older than you are. So here you are, this little peon of a being. That's how they see you in reference to them. And you are demanding things a lot of times. So it's definitely something that if you're going to do and work in the draconian realm or with them, please learn about them very well. Approach them like you would, similar to working with gods and goddesses. Approach them with dignity and with respect. Get to know them, introduce yourself, get to know them as well. Don't just show up and demand things. And then they will slowly work with you. And it's usually with the draconian, or I shouldn't say draconian. That draconian is the name of that. But with the dragons, they have a tendency, they don't just work with you. They like to get to know you first before they work with you. Okay? They will it's not a matter of, you may want to call on them, but they may decide no, they're not willing to work with you. They're very contrary is the word I would say. All right. Okay, Goddess. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add to them, but if you get to work with them, they're awesome. Awesome to work with spells and rituals.
I have to say, I've never met any dragons. Dragons came to me. I never sought out dragons, but I feel very close to them. They're around me. They protect me. I have this spiral dragon bracelet. I don't know how well you can see that.
It's beautiful. I can see it.
I gave to my Priestess girls as well for protection because I work so hard with them and I love the spirals and the dragons. I've never had a problem with dragon. I've never met a mean dragon, but it could be because they came to me. I didn't solicit them for anything. They just, you know, showed up actually during a journey one day and we hit it off famously. And actually I like to ride them. So
yeah, they're awesome.
I've never had any problems with a dragon, but I can understand if someone who doesn't. I also believe, though, in establishing relationships.
There you go.
I never want to be accused of just being a fair weather friend. I'm just going to call you up when I need something, and then I just don't, you know, acknowledge you or be your friend or show any kind of interest or support in you whatsoever. That's not a real friend. That's not what friends do with each other. So it's important to me to anyway establish a relationship and be kind to any of the entities that you're dealing with. I personally think dragons rock, and there's all different kinds. Some of them are, you know, they like to sleep all day and chill out. Others are more fiery and they like to do a lot of things. I found them to be very playful and very supportive and very protective. If they do not like it, once they become your friend, they do not like other people bothering you or doing anything to harm you. They will get very upset. And
they will.
They'll decide if they want to go after that person. You can say, hey, listen, you know, they don't take it, you know, they didn't really mean it. It's up to the dragons are going to do what they're going to do. They're not ruled by our rules. So I personally love dragons and like to wear them and let them know that I love them so much. But they can be, you don't want to just bother them for no reason. You don't want somebody calling you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, asking you for something, and you don't even know them. Like you have some sort of entitlement. That's not going to win you friends in any realm.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't work well with them.
And if any of you, I don't know if any of you in the chat room like to work with dragons or anything like that. If you do, let us know. If you have a dragon that you work with or play with or is your friend or your protector, because I personally love them. I love dragons.
Yeah, me too. And I actually, one of the reasons I had gotten DJ Conway's book, she told me that, and I had emailed back and forth about that book, she had said that for people, it's not everyone buys that kind of book. It's people who are drawn to it for whatever reason. And I have always been drawn to the dragons. But one of the things that with dragons, they trusted you. They have to trust you to even reach out to you in the first place. Because dragons there's always been a law of human beings betraying them. So they're very, especially where humans are concerned, always trying to kill them.
Right.
So the betrayal is to them is a big deal. And they don't just trust anyone. They really have to trust you to reach out or want to work with you or anything like that. But if you can have any relationship with them at all, it's a true kind of friendship. It's a true friend that will never betray you, would never do any of this. They'll always protect you. That's what they're like. They're very, very interesting. And I always feel like I have the dragons of each element there. always on my side, or always, especially when I go into certain things like with the Ouija or any kind of spiritual thing where I have to work so hard or whatever, I always feel like they've got my back. And I think they're kind of cool. They're really cool beings, and I have utmost respect for them.
Me as well. I love dragons.
Okay,
And
the
JQ
next
loves
one's for you.
dragons too, which is very way cool. All right, so let's go ahead and let's keep rolling with seasonal witches. Witches who utilize and draw energy from the specific times of the year for their magic. Sort of how a person might have a strong love or connection to a certain time of the year. This can also be spread out into winter, autumn, spring, and summer witches. Now, I personally do bring in the seasonal energies and work with the seasonal energies because each season gives us something else that we should focus on, something else that we can actually capitalize on, depending on what that particular season is in charge of. And so, you know, I keep telling you, we have to have relationships with different people. We don't have to. I have to. That's my personal thing. I feel like I have to. You don't have to feel the way I do. But for example, when I do the solstice ceremonies, I will be sure to say hail and farewell to the passing season, and all hail those lords and ladies of the season that are coming in, because they have different names. So I just pulled up just for the summer solstice ceremony that I did. The name of the summer is Casmaran. The name of the angels of summer are Gargatel, Tariel, and Gaviel. The head of the sign of summer is Tubiel. The name of the earth in summer is Festitivi. The name of the sun in summer is Atame. The name of the moon in summer is Armites. And so by addressing the hierarchies of that season, I can get a lot more done. So I make offerings to them every day. I say, you know, I bless them, the lords and ladies of the summer, and ask them for their help and their assistance. And I also try to work within what they're in charge of, because that's when they're here to boost you up with something you're trying to do. We're still in the sowing season and the growing season. So I'm asking them to grow, you know, whatever it is I need to reach my ambitions, and to guide me and to help me to do that to a successful harvest. And I'll do the same thing with the autumn lords and ladies of autumn, and lords and ladies of winter, to help to support me, to help me through that. And so these are more than just friends. This is like, these are family to me. I've been dealing with them for so long. And also by honoring those lords and ladies of the season, I feel like I get a lot more done. I feel more supported. It helps to guide me with things that I'm trying to do in my life. And it also says, guess what? I know you're out there working on the front lines every day to get things done. And you know what? I appreciate you. I cherish you. I am so grateful that you're here to help, not just me, but everybody else. You know, it's just like, you know, nobody wants to do a thankless job. Nobody wants to be toiling all day to help you. And no one, you know, no one even looks up and says, gee, thanks. Thanks a lot for helping me, or acknowledging your existence, or anything like that. To me, it's important to acknowledge that. And I think I'm like that so much because as an empath, you know, empaths, we will put ourselves before everyone and help everyone. And then when it's our turn for help, nobody's there and nobody will help us. We don't get acknowledgement. We don't get thanked or acknowledged or cherished or anything like that. And I feel as an empath, well, look at all of my guides. Look at all of my spiritual brothers and sisters, because I call the gods and goddesses my brothers and sisters. And look at how much they do for me. Look at how much they help me. They'll yell at me. They'll make me feel happy. They treat me like family. The very least I can do is acknowledge them and show appreciation. Even when I'm not asking any, you know, if I'm only dealing with one at the moment to help me with something, I acknowledge everybody. Everybody gets acknowledged, because it's only fair, you know. So I say that working within the seasons can be really helpful if you're using the season for what it's for. You know, if in the spring you want to get your new beginnings on and start something new and you're trying to refresh that, then you go ahead and you do that. With those lords and ladies, you know, you ask them to help you with what it is, and you use the season for what it is supposed to be doing for you. Then you get to work within the flow of energy, and things can go a lot more smoothly. The same way that many of us witches work within the cycle of the moon. A lot of us will only start things on the new moon, or prefer to start things on the new moon, and get rid of things or wane away things during the waning moon. So you've got, you know, people who will do that as well. So I think that working within the seasons, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a seasonal witch, but I certainly work within the seasons, and I bring that energy into my ceremonies, and I make offerings each day to everyone to say, you know what, I don't want anything right now. I love you and I cherish you and I appreciate you. And if you do that and show gratitude, they'll help you a lot more than just saying you don't know them. It's like, look, I need you to help me do this right away, or whatever it is. That's rude. So that's my take on seasonal witches. Well, I would not call myself, you know, expressly a seasonal witch. I work very heavily with the seasonal energies in the work that I do. What about you, Goddess Star? Do you work within the seasonal energies?
Yes, I do. And before I answer that, I'm gonna, because usually you're the one that's checking the chat room, but I checked that I was just before while you were talking. And Jakey said, I love dragons, just going back a bit with the dragons, and I've gotten along with them too. And then Nate says, dragons are often drawn to warriors and martial artists who are quiet and not showy. And Jakey said that she's drawn to them as well as the angels, and that the angels, Cassiel, is the angel who works with dragons. So I thought that was really interesting. And then she said, Jakey said, Jakey, I hope you're female because that's the impression I got.
Yes, she is.
Okay, good. I'm just, that's the impression I got. Winter are my seasons, summers are the most challenging for me. In terms of seasonal for me, it's interesting. I would not consider myself what you'll term seasonal witch. I do work with the seasons because I'm similar to you, Goddess Rhonda. I work with just about everything. But the seasonal witches, a lot of it, I've never heard of them in that way, but I've known that the olden witches, not that they were considered seasonal witches, but because everything was so much harder with the seasons back then, everything that they equated was based on the season. So their magic changed depending on the season and adapted based on that, because things were not like today where you can easily go indoors and be a different type of housing. Back then, the type of housing that they had were all based on what was it that was outside at that time and how they will adapt to it based on their lifestyle and or their economic lifestyle. So depending on whether they're poor or rich or medium, a lot of them were not on the rich side. They were more on the, and not poor necessarily, but they lived hand to mouth. So a lot of their craft was done based on whatever season it was at the time. So, you know, to me, I don't think I live that way, but although I do recognize all the different seasons, because I think it was based on the time. I think it would have meant more to me if I was in that time. So all my entire living structure was based on the seasons. So coming forward, yes, I add in parts of the seasons in with my magic, but and I base it on, you know, the growing time of like now we're growing into the harvest and all of that, and heading back out again. I mean, I base it like that, but outside of that, I don't. So I wouldn't consider myself necessarily a seasonal witch, but I think we all have a bit of that in us anyways, in one form or another. I think that's pretty much it for me with that. And the next one, unless you want to add something else to that, Goddess. Okay. The next one is embroidery, sewing, or knit. One who imbues magic into household stitching or string hobbies such as embroidery, sewing, knitting, stringing, and knotting. Basically, one who identifies with using knot or cord magic in many different skills. Now, again, this is one of the things that I think is part of our magic in general. I mean, I wouldn't, I'm not going to identify strictly with that, because I do knot magic. That knot magic was part of our second degree in the Cabot tradition, so that's a big part of it. So I learned a lot from that on how to do certain type of knot magic for your future in terms of what you want to get out of your future and where you want to guide yourself and what path you're on. So some of that was part of my education and my knowledge that I picked up along the way. Um, but one of the things I think they may forget, and I hope that they is part of it, or maybe this coming up, I don't know, is quilt magic. Because I think if you're going to do the embroidery and the sewing and the knitting, I think quilting should be in there too, because um, quilting magic is like similar to the sewing magic. I guess we added that would be the part where there's you know, the dolls, when you make the doll, the cotton dolls and everything, that will be the sewing. But quilting is a big part of magic for people, and a lot of them are not necessarily witches. Any of them that make the quilts, when you buy quilts, certain quilts will give you certain feelings based on the type of people that made that quilt. Because whenever anyone is stitching quilts, because of the way they're done, magic is formed in all the quilts. So there are people that I know that have said with certain quilts they cry a lot. Certain quilts it gives them comfort. So a lot of that type of magic, embroidery, sewing, knitting, quilting, all of that is based on either knots or they imbue a lot of their feelings into their type of magic. So the embroidery, sewing, knitting, all of those things, even with knot magic, they're all based on imbuing certain types of feelings or magic into each knot or stitch or quilting part. So that's, I mean, I don't like quilting because that's just me. It's too much work and too tedious. I'm too busy. So I'm not gonna do that. But I've done the knot magic and it works really well. I used it for the path work for my in law with Laurie Cabot, and it was basically the knot magic that I did. I wish I had thought to bring it because I could have shown it to you guys. And this was done back in 1994. And basically, when I take it out every now and then, I had written down different things on the cards that were there, and we used a tarot deck with it. And on the back of it, I had glued what I wanted from each card that was in the knot magic. And each one led me on my path today. When I look at it, I'm like, wow, I've been traveling this path exactly as I did with that knot magic that I did with that for that class. And it's interesting to watch it because I've been on that path exactly as I imbued with it. So it's just interesting. So I'm kind of part of it, but yet I'm not. What do you think, Goddess?
I am really in. Well, I think that the embroidery sewing, I think that does include the quilting as well. Just all encompassing anything to do with it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I like crocheting. I like crocheting because you can do a mantra and with each thing that you crochet, and then you can wear that as a little string around a bracelet or something around you. You know, a lot of people, I love malas as well. Malas are they're beads on a string. But if you don't have a mala and you mantra or do affirmations, you can actually weave that into with your crochet needle and your yarn and whatever colors that represent that. And also along with the quilting. Now, quilting is very tedious. Nowadays, they have this big arm that you can attach to your sewing machine and you can do quilting. Or in the olden days, they had quilting bees where women would get together and make one quilt because it is extremely tedious work. It's a lot to it. So you all of you know that I'm a huge goddess worshiper, and so I had one of my friends is a quilter, and I managed to, as Goddess Star was talking, because I had a picture of it on my computer to transfer it to my phone, and I had her create for me a quilt. It might be coming out backwards because I'll fold it upside down. Maybe that'll help. Of the Berkana rune, and with the Berkana rune, I've got daisies around. It's probably harder to see that because it's so big, but I had her create that for me as a wall hanging because I
Okay.
associate highly. It is upside down. In my computer, it looks like it's coming out upside down, but I'm not sure how it's translating to you guys. So hopefully,
Okay, move it over this way a bit, because when you put it that way, you're putting it off. More this way. To your right. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
there
There
you
you go.
go.
That's perfect.
And
Yeah.
so it's probably upside down because it might not be. It might be reversed. It should
Well, it's
be with
facing
the
on
point.
facing me. It's going like this, like a B on this side. Is that what you wanted,
Yeah,
or
it
the
should
other
look
side?
like a B, but it
Okay,
shouldn't
then
look
yeah,
like
then it's
a
fine.
backwards B. It should look like a straight up B. Does
Yes,
it look
yes,
like a
it is
backwards B or a regular B?
a regular B.
Okay, good. And so the
Yeah.
Berkana rune represents, if you turn it this way, you can see, let me fix it because it got big. If
When
you
you
turn
turn
it,
it, it's just when you turn it, it's just going sideways again. Oh, there we go. Okay.
there we go. When you turn it this way, you can see it represents breasts. It
Yeah.
represents the goddess energy. And
Right.
so I had that quilt made and I have it hanging over one of my altars to bring me that goddess energy and also the energy of the red for the goddess. So I love that kind of magic. When I was younger, not because of magic, out of necessity, I was a seamstress. I had to make all of my own clothes and crochet my own scarves and things like that. So I really enjoy doing that. And when you're doing that work yourself, you're actually, I mean, your energy is really involved. Your physical body's involved. Your emotions are involved. Your
Yeah.
spiritual energy is involved. The needle becomes a wand, or with the whatever it is, the knitting needle, the sewing needle, the crochet needle. It's a very magical process, and it's very soothing, and then you get to wear it. And so the one thing, though, that you do want to do as a caveat, though, if you're going to do this type of magic, is you do want to make sure you are in the proper emotional state, because you don't want to be
Exactly.
creating, a wealth crocheted bracelet while you're thinking about all the bills you have to pay next week and how you have no money. Or if you're sad about that, that's not the time.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you're in the proper state, because you are really engaging with a lot. You're engaging your mind, you're engaging your emotions, you're engaging your physical body, your emotional body, your etheric bodies. Everything is going. It's very powerful magic, but it can be one that backfires on you if you are not in
In
the
the right.
proper state. It
Yeah.
can, like any other magic, but this one is really involved, because you don't just make a quilt in 10 minutes. I can make
Yeah.
you a beautiful candle in a couple of minutes. I can't make you a quilt or a crochet bracelet or a necklace or a scarf in 10 minutes. This is a project that you're going to be doing every single day. So you have to make sure that you actually are in the proper state
Of mine.
to
Yeah.
go ahead and do that project. So
Yeah.
that's what I have to say about it. I do love it. For those of you who are crafty and like to sew or knit or crochet, this is a form that you might want to look into. It might be something that you like. And we have someone new. I don't think I've ever seen you. Soul Merkaba Akoma. Namaste and blessed be. Thank you for joining us. She was in a quilting and doll making guild. And yes, it is a magical spiritual work. All of the women reminded me of those beautifully strange women from old times. I am a doll maker more than quilting. Awesome, 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 awesome. And of
Yeah.
course,
That's
she also
wonderful.
does embroidery, crochet. It's very relaxing. I love just sitting there and crochet. I don't necessarily just crochet for spell work. It's just relaxing for me. But you can do it, and crocheting is really easy. Or you can get a book on knitting or cord matches. A lot you can do. So something else for you, if you're not doing it, something else for you to look into and explore and enjoy. But it is a lot of work that goes into that, especially if you're doing a project like a quilt or a scarf or a blanket or something like that. So you do want to make sure you're in the proper
Yeah.
state.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have paper magic. Magic that is worked with essentially paper, burning paper written with sigils, chants, symbols, or spells, creating magical offerings, items, or satchels from paper. So any of you who follow me know, especially if you're on my online ceremonies, you know that before we even begin the ceremony, we do paper magic. We write down on a piece of paper what we're burning off of us. That with sacred fire, I burn away all adverse blockages, unbalanced energies, curses, hexes, negative entities, that which does not belong, that which impedes my progress, that which impedes my peace, that which impedes my prosperity. I have custom ones that I do for people. Like for my dad, I have that which impedes his mental clarity, all Alzheimer's disease, dementia, or for myself, I put my Lyme disease symptoms, anything that I'm burning away. And we burn that paper to clear that energy off of us. And then I also read the ashes of people. You'd be astounded. Well, Goddess Star talks about, I'll see if I can pull up some pictures on my phone. You'd be astounded at the things that you see when you do ashes like that. So I do love paper magic. At one point, I was studying, of course, the word just went right out of my head, of course, where you create little things with paper. Like I used to create these swans and things like that, but you know, I got so much, I can't do everything. Or thank you so much. I don't know why that word went right out of my head. Yeah. But there are ways that you can use paper for that. In fact, there's a really good novel that I read, and it's a novel. But you can get a lot of information from novels and a lot of ideas from novels. I believe that there is truth in everything. Yeah. And the name of that book, it's an ebook. It's called The Paper Magician. And it's about this woman who in their sex, you can either be a paper magician, a fire magician. They have all these different magicians that you can study for. And the least favorite one was the paper magician, and that was the one that she got pulled for, and that's not what she wanted, but she says, okay, well, you know, at least it's something. And she actually got into it. It's a really fascinating book about what you can do with paper. Catherine Ironwood has a book called Paper in My Shoe, which is a really excellent book on paper magic and the different spells you can do with paper, sigils, what you can write on it. I love that book. Yeah. I think you can get that on Amazon or on her Lucky Mojo site. I'll see when Goddess Star is talking. I'll run over and get it so you can see what it looks like.
Her books. I love her books. They're so interesting.
And so I'm a big believer in paper magic. I love paper magic. Goddess Star, go ahead and talk about what you like about paper magic, because I'm about to get on a roll, and I'm excited because I want to find my ashes. And okay. I'm going to let you start talking. I'm going to go see if I can find my book real quick.
Okay. With paper magic, I tend to work with it a lot of sigil work. I have the sigil, and a lot of times I have this sigil drawn in red ink on parchment paper. The other paper that I use sometimes is brown paper bags. That's great to write your magic on and then burn. So I'm kind of into specific types of papers, whether it's parchment paper or the brown paper bag. Although you can use regular paper from notebooks and everything, because back then parchment paper was hard to come by, so they used that. And in modern times, I guess regular paper is the version of parchment paper, but I still love the old school parchment paper and working with sigils, drawing on it. So when I do my type of paper magic, and I draw the sigil on it with the red ink, and depending on what that sigil is, I will write on the back of it my name, whether it's my craft name, my birth name, my date of birth, and sometimes I draw the sigil of my date of birth. And you can draw also the sigil of your name, take your name and create the sigil for it and put all of that all together, and whatever that type of magic, and then you can burn it. Sometimes I do two, one for burning, one for writing and putting under my candle. So it depends on what it is that you do with it, but they're great and wonderful to work with in terms of any kind of spell work that you're doing. There's a particular ritual that we do and I wanted to do that so much for the Friday, I think it's either Friday night or Sunday night, I was going to do that workshop for everyone at Witchcrafts. But part of that ritual, the revocation ritual, and relieving yourself of past life contract, essentially you'll be saying certain things that you want to relieve and remove from yourself. And I wish, I'm going to try to come up with that and show you guys a bit of it. But you are saying, I'm relieving, I'm removing myself from any contracts of pain. I'm removing myself of any past contracts of unhealthy relationships. I'm releasing and removing myself from all that has not served me. I'm relieving and removing myself from all contracts of negativity, or all contracts, or all past contracts of relationships, anything like that you can think of. And then when you're done saying all of the things of the removal, you will then take it and fold it into four and start at the corner and burn it. And depending on, it's an interesting thing. Depending on how many times you've done this ritual, because of course, the more you do it, the faster your paper will burn. The very first time I see people do it, there's a lot of feedback right now for some reason. The very first time that I did it, or anyone does it that I've seen, the paper takes a long time to burn. And I believe that's because at first it's really fighting you not to remove all those contracts and everything. So when you first burn it, doesn't burn as fast. But each time that you do the ritual and you do the burning, it burns faster and faster. And then finally, like about the eighth or ninth time that you're doing it, the ritual, it just shoots up really fast. It's just the strangest thing, and it happens exactly like that for most everyone that I've seen do it. And that's because usually it's saying that the contracts are all breaking up. Because at first it was very difficult because, oh my goodness, you're removing all these contracts from your past lives. That does not serve you. So a lot of it has, who knows what contracts you've put yourself into or gotten yourself into. We've even done a show on past life. What was it again? Where we were confined to someone, or we were doing a sleep. I forgot what it was called. The name eludes me right now. But basically, it's the same type of thing with the revocation ritual and removing things from your past life. So it's a very tedious, really ritual. But when you burn it each time, it removes each time. And at the end, when you look at the end of the ashes and you're reading it, you would see each time as it dissipates, and all the different things that you can get from the meaning of it as you see the ashes. So it's really interesting what you can do with paper magic. And I mean, I do paper magic every day. From writing it down to burning it to different things. Drawing the sigils on it is part of a lot of my spell work. It's just part of everything that I do, and including love magic I've done with people, but it's just not every spell work. So I work with it a lot. All right, goddess.
All right, so I found some things for you guys. First, here's the book, Paper in My Shoe.
Awesome. I got to get that book.
This is a great book. It's got all kinds of things to do with paper. Repetitions, sigils, names, prosperity, how to fold the paper, the pens, the kinds of different paper, different charms. They've got these Chinese charms that you can draw on the paper.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Yeah.
They have all kinds of different sigils. If you need prosperity, if you need peace, whatever it is you need, they have it in here. That you can they even have like a labyrinth that you can draw to bring things to you. They've got some really cool stuff in here. And so you might want to go ahead and consider getting this book if you're interested in paper magic. This is the book I like. I'm sure there's other books out there, but if you are interested, I can recommend this book very highly. I think you can get it. I can't remember if I got this off of Amazon or Lucky Mojo, because I've had it for a long time.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out because I love her books. It's always very informational.
Get it on Amazon. I'm pretty sure, because that's typically who I order from is from Amazon. And so, especially if you don't know how to do it, I mean, the stuff that they have in here is really, 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 really awesome. And they even talk about how to take the ashes and the power of the ashes. Now, in Hinduism, I will do a ceremony with incense or fire, and I wear the ashes afterward. I save the ashes and anoint myself with them, because those ashes do carry the blessings of that ceremony. And I feel so much better when I put my ashes on, and because it's carrying that mojo. So that's also what you can do. So I found a couple of pictures also. One of my students is learning about ash burning and burn magic and things like that. And she would do her burns every day and send me the pictures to see if I saw what she saw, or if she couldn't find anything, what my thoughts were on it. And so she had sent me this burn picture, and I had cropped it down because there was only one thing in the ash that I felt like she really needed to be aware of. And she says, "What do you think about this?" And I said, "I want you to be very careful because somebody is watching you. And if you can look at this picture, do you see the eyes
Yeah.
looking out?
Yeah.
Somebody was watching her."
Yeah.
And then we have, she's got some really great ashes. That's because she does it every day. So I've got some good examples with her. I'm going to show you another one here. Just bear with me for a second because there's so many. I have to actually find the ones that I want to show you. I think it might have been this one. Let me pull this one up. Just bear with me for a moment, guys, because I really wanted to show you these.
Yeah. And it's interesting what comes out. I've seen some of your burns, and it's really good to see.
I do. You see a lot of things in these. And one of them was just this perfect, I wish I could find it right this very second. I'll keep looking for it as we go through the show, because it's one that I wanted to really show everyone here. Wait, this might be it. Is this one it? No, all right. I won't waste time with that one. I'll just show you this one because I know where it is. And then while Goddess Star is talking, I will. Oh, wait, I found it. Here it is. This is I was about to give up. This one might show up a little blurry, but
Lift it up a bit until to your right. Yeah, there you go.
okay. So now here, let me fix it so I can see myself here. All right. So if you look over here, it's a little blurry, but if you look closely, you're going to see a ninja. You can see the sword.
Yes, yes, I see it. I see it.
Sword. You can see he's wearing a hat. You know, and it's over her sleeping figure. This is like her and her sleeping figure. So there's a ninja that she had that was coming at her while she was sleeping, or at least it translated. And this is one of my favorite ones is right here. This one I thought was so very way cool. Is what I'm just going to call it the walking man. And I had pulled it up. There it is. I'm going to make it bigger because so that it's not too blurry, and put it over here where you guys can see. So the first thing I want you to notice is the foot, because it's so clear. If you can see my phone up front, you can even see the toes.
Go this way a little bit that way.
This way?
Yes, perfect.
All right.
Perfect. That's good.
If you look carefully, you can even see the toes.
Yeah, you can.
The guy's foot and him walking.
Yeah.
You can see his face. It looks like maybe an African shaman walking. I mean, you see so many very way cool things. And a really quick thing to way to clear your house. If your house feels hinky, you can write down your address on a piece of paper with the wording that you are burning away whatever adverse energies or negative entities are in the home, because not else, a lot of spirits don't like fire going through them, and burn the paper. It will send the energy of fire through your house and clear it out. Now that, unless of course that particular spirit enjoys fire, you know, it might not work for everybody, but I've done it in a pinch just to get the energy lightened up if I needed to, and it works really well. So as you can see, Goddess Star and I are huge proponents of paper magic.
Yes.
And I think all of us witches use, hey, we write petitions, we do sigils. There's a lot of things that we use. So I think I'm willing to bet that many of us use paper magic in many kinds of forms, many kinds of ways. But I personally love paper magic, and I work with it a lot. So there we go with paper magic.
Yes.
What's next?
And I keep that. We go with that. But okay. The next thing up is music. magic that is worked with music, musical chimes or rhythm, humming, singing, clapping, singing chants during spells, playing instruments, even simple ones like the triangle or bells, or even just simply playing music during spell work, magic, or during energy exercises are a few common things a music witch might fancy, or what we have turned to, there's a term for them, the bard, the bard. To a lot of the Celts, the witch that does a lot of magic by what they're doing is based on music. So a lot of it is done by that bard, by simply, a lot of times they tell a story or a spell by singing whatever it is along. And I am not a singer by any means, but I love to sing. I love to chant. I think it brings a lot of energy to rituals, to different things that you're doing. Whether it's a chant like "Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath, and fire my spirit," anything like that, and you drum it along. Anything like that. I think it raises energy for you, your energy level, for your magic that you're working. I have known people to simply sit, and whatever spell they're working on, they create the spell, they do everything else, and then they just chant different songs for it, or they make up their own song based on what that spell is. And I tend to do that a lot myself sometimes. So definitely, I imbue some of that within my magic and everything. There was even a song that I wrote that's for Goddess Guide Me. Um, I'll have to find it while Goddess Rhonda is speaking to you guys and bring it up. But it's interesting because I do believe that a lot of you can sing your magic or your spells. And if you're singing it and you're drumming and you're getting into the music, think of anything like, for instance, in the Caribbean, Carnival, with Trinidad and Tobago, a lot of the whole idea of Carnival was based on Bacchanal, the god Bacchanal. And it was, the whole thing was, the god Bacchanal was there, and the whole thing is to just kind of get into the music and dance, move your body and chant and drum. And all of it was based on the steel band. And in the Caribbean, I remember them doing rituals like that, and it was always so entrancing, is the word. You can't help yourself but to move and start to dance to it. And I did not realize a lot of times they were drumming out and chanting out spells. And that was really interesting. And I am sure that there are many of them at different parts of the world that do that. And I think when we do ours in the park or anywhere else where we're chanting the witch's song, we circle round the fire to bring um, uh, magic there, all those kinds of things that we're singing and drumming to, all of that is helping and assisting that magic and bringing energy to it. So definitely, I am all for the music and the chanting and the drumming and all of that, because it does raise that vibrational energy level. And to me, it takes all your spells and everything like that, and it raises it up to this whole other energy level. And you can take that entire thing and use it in your magic, because you've raised that energy level up so high rather, and you can then imbue it into your magic. So definitely, anything else that you wanted to add to it, even though I want to find my song for you guys with it.
Yes, absolutely. I love sound magic. I was gifted, I've been practicing the art of receiving, which is learning how to say yes to and people giving me things. So typically, first of all, my generation was raised, if, let's say you go over to your friend's house when you're a little kid, and let's say their mom offers you a cookie or a glass of milk, you are to say no thank you. No thank you. Even if you are dying of thirst and hunger, you say no thank you. It's just polite. So I had that training, and I never really learned how to receive well. And if you don't know how to receive, then you're not going to get things in life. So I've been consciously practicing the art of receiving. And Jay Key, who just this, I cannot tell you how much she takes care of me. She's always bringing me little presents and gifts. She gave me this beautiful Ohm box, and inside of it is this little miniature singing bowl. And I love this. I use this to clear energy from bad energies from my room, to get me in the proper state, to clear my own energy through my chakras and everything. It's such a beautiful thing. And also what I teach my students and practice myself is because I do a lot of healing work with the chakra and the aura. Each chakra has a magical note that goes with it. And so what I do is I have a pitch pipe. You can get it on eBay. This one is called the Master Key Chromatic Pitch Instrument. And you can change which pitch you're using. So just as a little experiential thingy here, we're going to do something just so that you can feel how well it works. All right, so the root chakra, which is at the base of your spine, just above your tailbone, I want you to put your palms over your root chakra. And if you can, I want you to imagine the color red over your root chakra while I play the C note, which represents the root chakra. So go ahead, bring your attention, don't focus on your root chakra, just bring your attention to it. Close your eyes if you can imagine the color red or the word red. Some people who cannot imagine colors can see the word, and I'm going to blow and do the C note so that you can feel the vibration within your root chakra. That's the letter C. And so if you get one of these pitch pipes that you can get, and go ahead and you can clear up your chakras with music. So let's just do our heart chakra really quick. Put your hands over your heart chakra. I'm going to switch it to F. If you can imagine the color green going in, that's fine. If you can see the word green and black and white going in, that's fine. Or you can just put your hands over it and relax and just feel the vibration of the F note. So this is something that you can get for self-healing. I use it in my healing practice, especially for distance healing, because it actually helps to add that vibration into it, strengthens it up. So it's something that you can look into. I'm a big believer in sound music. I come from a family of musicians. I'm a musician myself, and I'm a singer myself. So I also incorporate that as well. So I just wanted to, and a lot of the spirits love it when you sing to them. If you chant and you do it in a melodious way, they love when you sing to them. Or even drumming. I like to drum to them. I am not the best drummer in the world. I will never get an award for being a drummer. No one's ever going to come up to me and say, gee, Rhonda, you should be a professional drummer. No one's ever going to say that to me. But I drum from the love in my heart.
Yeah.
And so I know that my guides, my spirits, whoever it is I am drumming to, you know, I work within everyone's spirituality. And I do have Native American clients that I will drum to their ancestors on their behalf. And it works because I'm showing respect. I don't pretend that I'm this great drummer. I'm not. And I even say that before I begin. I am not a very great drummer. I am not well versed in if there's certain patterns that go with Native American drumming. I am drumming to you from the bottom of my heart to make a request for on behalf of whoever it is, and I'll make that request as I'm drumming and it works. So yeah, I love sound magic. You know, I have to say, doing the series, I didn't realize how many different kinds of magic I do. Actually, I'm really enjoying it because I've never really broken it down into such fine detail. So I'm actually enjoying the show myself because it lets us know, you know, how much effort, how much work we actually put into our lifestyle. And I say lifestyles because this is a lifestyle. And so, you know, it's fascinating to me how many components there are, and learning about all these little different components that create the whole puzzle, these little puzzle pieces. I think that's really cool. So anyway, that's what I had to say about sound music and sound magic. And I think anyone here, even if you don't necessarily practice sound magic, I bet there's a song that you listen to that boosts your spirit. Like I love Pharrell's I'm Happy Because I'm Happy. I hear that, I listen to that song all the time because it makes me feel happy, you know, or even, I believe in this is right, you know how Rhonda is with her theories, her conspiracy. With my conspiracy theories, although this is not necessarily a conspiracy theory in itself, but I do honestly believe that a lot of artists that we listen to are witches also. Yeah. And they will, let's say they sing a love song, that they actually are putting that intention into it because they want you to feel what they're saying. So, you know, many people have gotten in trouble slow dancing to a love song with someone that they might not necessarily go out with normally, but the magic of the music consumes them and they've got their music goggles on and they don't really see what they're getting into. Then they wake up the next day and it's like, what was I thinking? OMG. And it was because of the magic of that music that that artist was singing. And I believe a lot of them will put that magic, that intention into their music to get us to listen and to buy it, you know. And hey, listen, they're practicing their craft. Good for them. I don't have a problem with that.
That's their form of magic and they use it well, you know.
Their magic that they use. And so, you know, a lot of them will even adopt a different persona to do it. Like, what's her face? Beyonce, who I admire greatly. I love her voice. You know, she did this thing where when she gets out on stage, she's not Beyonce, she's Sasha Fierce. She takes on this whole new persona. And I always wondered, is that an actual spirit that's stepping into her that makes her feel so different that she invites in so that she can do this work and do her dance that, you know, she feels like she just can't because she's a talented woman. I couldn't understand, like, why do you need to step into another persona in order to do this? And another, what's her name? Nicki Minaj. You know, her generation of music, I don't listen to it. I'm the old school, so I listen to the 80s stations and the 90s stations. But she's a very big name, and I've seen her saying that she has a spirit that comes into her that says Roman. And I was listening to a song on Pandora. I don't remember what the name of it is. It's I can hear the music in my head, but I can't think of what the words are. It's a drinking song, though. It's a drinking song. And she does a little part in it where she raps in it. And then at the end of it, she says, this is Roman. Like, this isn't Nicki, this is Roman doing this. And so I believe also that these artists, and they're just coming out and saying, they're just flat out telling you can Google it and see that I'm telling you the truth.
Right, right.
I believe that they bring in a spirit into them to help them to perform or to perform for them. And they are recognizing that spirit by saying, hey, it's not Beyonce, this is Sasha Fierce in here right now working this, or this isn't Nicki Minaj, this is Roman in here rocking this beat, not Nicki. And they acknowledge it, you know, out loud. And so I do believe that they invite spirits to ride them or to perform for them because they might not feel they have the wherewithal. So that, I think, is also another form of sound magic or music magic, however you want to term it, because we do have these artists that'll say, you know what, this isn't really me performing, this is Sasha, or this is Roman, or this is whoever it is performing that's doing it. So they are doing spirit work within the music world, whether or not, you know, people are actually acknowledging that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. If you're inviting another spirit in to perform for you, that's what you're doing. So you're kind of using sound magic and spirit work at the same time. So I just wanted to bring that up also as well.
Because it's interesting that, you know, at a movie and at a movie preview had, and they were saying, you don't own me. And they were going, it was a melodious beat. And I'm going, oh, that's a nice tune. Make a song for that. And I started singing this song, this words, and it all just came to me. And I created a song from it, you know, and I was just like, and I'm doing it and I'm going, and I'm, you know, and it puts you into those modes to create. maybe a new song or whatever it is. And I created the song Goddess Guide Me with it. So it was kind of cool, you know? But yeah, so it kind of gives us that muse or that creation for something else. And one of these days, I'm going to sing that for you guys. Okay. What's the next one?
Okay, next thing up is we did paper, we did music, is chaos magic.
Yes.
Okay. Chaos magic, a type of magic utilizing new, non-traditional, and unorthodox methods. It is a new and highly individualistic practice while still drawing from other forms of magic. I don't know how new that is. You know, I'm gonna disagree with
Yeah.
new on that because people have been practicing chaos magic for a long time. One of our guests, Andrea Vidmus, is a chaos magician. And I don't know a lot, you know, I didn't know a lot about chaos magic. And I'm like, well, chaos magic, chaos to me means, you know, things are crazy or frenetic or all over the place. And so I asked him about, explain that to me. What is chaos magic? Because in my mind, because I'm a very analytical, logical person, I'm thinking to myself, well, why would you want to do magic that would cause chaos? But the way he explained it to me and in our interview was that from chaos comes order. So what you're really doing is you're taking the whatever chaos is going on in your life, whatever part of your life, and then you are turning it into order. You're straightening it out, getting rid of the chaos and helping it to flow again. I thought that that was really awesome and an excellent way of looking at it. So if your finances are in chaos, you turn that chaos to order. It's the same way they would say the universe was in chaos until all of a sudden, you know, this big light came in or the Big Bang and suddenly there's all these stars and blah, blah, blah. It's actually turning chaos into order or chaos into something that you can work with, which I thought was fascinating because a lot of us, you might have peace in some areas of our lives, but we also can have a lot of chaos going on in one or two areas of our lives. So if you're in financial chaos or health chaos or relationship chaos, you can do chaos magic to fix those situations. Now, there's a flip side to everything. I am sure there are also chaos magicians that will cause chaos to those who try to harm them or do something to them, or if there's just people who are mean that would do that. I mean, there's two sides of every coin for every kind of magic. You know, you can use magic for the good, you can use magic for not so good, or whatever. But I love the way that he explained that to me because I really didn't have a true working knowledge of chaos magic. And just listening to it, I could never figure out, you know, just hearing the word chaos magic to me, it's like, why would you want to create chaos? I could see where if you have to go to war, if someone's at war with you and you have to destroy their lives or whatever it is you have to do to defend yourself, because I'm a big believer in defending yourself. You know, I could see you having to do that, but I couldn't figure out how you would use it on a practical plane until he explained it to us on our show, that it's actually changing something that is in chaos or chaotic into something that's nice and smoothly flowing and works within whatever it is that you're trying to do. So I'm all for that. I won't say, you know, and I guess technically since we do a lot of spell work to fix our finances, to fix our health, to fix our living situations, to fix our relationship situations, our job, career, money, whatever it is, when we probably are as witches doing forms of chaos magic all the time, because we are trying to remove the chaos from our lives or from those areas of our lives. I just never thought of it as being called chaos magic. So he actually provided, we're going to have him come back. He's a real fascinating guy. He does a lot of things and he's really fascinating. We're going to have him come back later on in the summer for our show to talk about that and shape-shifting and things like that. But anyway, those are my thoughts. So I think technically, even though you might not have a working knowledge of chaos magic, you probably actually do it if you're a spellcaster or you're an energy worker, you work with things. You probably actually do it to help you to handle things in your own life. What do you think, Goddess Star?
Yeah, and what Andrea is also true. But I do have um, part of the chaos magic that I've always been hearing about, and I know people that practice it. Andrea is the first one I know that has brought it to that definition of what he said. You know, taking things from chaos and making it into non-chaotic situations. Because a lot of the people that I know that practice chaos magic call it or see it as practicing left hand magic, or you know how we would say that line of "do what ye will, but harm ye none."
Mm-hmm.
Their system is "do what ye will." Period. There's nothing clause saying about and we're not going to harm anyone to do. They just don't care. This is what we're doing, and it's for me and my benefit, and that's that. So a lot of them practice it from that aspect, and that's how they see it. But then again, like you said, there is two sides to every coin, and this is how Andrea
Absolutely.
sees it and does it. So they, on the other hand, that are seeing it from that aspect, that's how they see it, and that's how they work it. Their chaos magic.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I've always seen people do it. So it was interesting to see Andrea telling us it the other way, and explaining it to us that way. So I think it just depends on and that's why it's also that this part that is true. Not the new part, but the part where it says it's highly individualistic practice,
Yes,
because it is
exactly.
based on individuals and how they see it or view it. Because Andrea is taking it from one aspect, and the others that I've known are taking it from a totally different aspect. So, in a way, they're kind of the ones that are creating that chaos, which is where you probably got that whole concept of maybe that's what it means. They're creating chaos or whatever it is. Because, in a sense, if you practice all your magic with the thought that do as you will, and you don't care if it harms anyone to come to you, other than just let it come to me, then you could be causing some chaos along the way and not caring, because it doesn't matter to you if it hurts or harms anyone. Just come to you the way you want it. It's simple. And that's just the way they see it, because I've heard some of them practice it that way for many years. So it was just interesting having Andrea speak to us about it and come from it from that aspect. And I thought that was really cool what he was saying. So again, this is the both way I've seen it now. So it's interesting. And just really quickly backing up just a little bit, Nate had said, when we were talking about the music magic, he said the muses are very, very old goddesses who inspire all the arts, music, root of music. So I thought that was interesting. I said, let me chuck that in there too, for us to hear about. And I thought that was really nice that he did that.
Very nice. Okay, what's next, Goddess?
Okay, the next one is. I really got to get that thing fixed for next. Animal magic, a variant of green magic. Magic that is strongly tied to the animal kingdom, which includes a deep appreciation of all animals, and most often usage of animal materials in spellwork. An animal witch will most likely be one who loves animals, a person who animals are immediately drawn to, and those who appreciate the natural world. Some animal witches might also use bones, wings, feathers, fur, skin, scales, etc. from diseased animals in their magic if they choose to do so. Um, in terms of what they sing, then I guess I'm utilizing some of the animal magic, just like with the green magic. I guess it's a variant of that, meaning that you work with all the green plants and everything. And in terms of animal magic, I would, depending on what the spell work or the situation is, because I've had to work. There's one client in particular that I'm working with that has had a series of really bad hexes on them, and working with she had part of it was a snake involved, a giant type. What I saw was like a giant red and black anaconda snake. And you know me and snakes, they're not my friend. We're not friends at all. So all I could think about when I thought about working with the person is you have to think of certain things. And my idea was fight animal with animal. What is the predator type animal that will attack or be able to kill snakes? So I would work on whether it's that eagle or whatever predator that kills snakes, certain types of snakes and everything, and that's the animal, the dead bones or the dead body parts of certain of that animal is what I would take and work with to use as magic against to combat the snake or whatever else I'm working against. So depending on the situation and the spell work that you're working on, um, you would work on different type of animals, body parts. Some people work on the feathers. Most of them go either with the feathers or the skin. Not so much the scales, but more like the bones. That's also something, and it's very good for protection, especially if they're a predatory type of animal. It's very good for that, for protection or different things. So I guess I kind of imbue some of that in my magic because of the type of work that I do, you know, and you as well. When you are doing certain types of work, my whole thing is I utilize whatever it takes to help that client, because if you think in a linear fashion, you're not going to exactly solve it or help that person. Like you learning how to drum from your heart for that Native American to offer it that you need to do. You adapt whatever it is that you have to do, and you imbue whatever it is that you have to do to make that magic work for that client, because that's what's required. So a lot of your magics will become very inclusive of so many different types of avenues, because as that person that's going in to help that client, you will bring out any arsenal that you have to bring out, because this is the situation that you're walking in. You're Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and you're coming with everything that you can come up with, whatever is at hand, and you're going to use it to work to help you combat whatever it is that you're working with, to help your client. It's as simple as that. So, what do you think, Goddess?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in animal magic, but in a very careful kind of way. Like obviously, I love feathers, but I will only use feathers from people where the feather naturally dropped off of the bird, that they go
Yeah.
around and they have actual bird farms, and they gather the feathers that if they don't pluck the feather and hurt the animal.
Right.
And I'll tell you, I had to learn a very hard lesson. This was back in the 80s when I was really, like I say before, back in the 80s, we did not have the internet. We didn't have all this information. We had a library, and if you were lucky, there was one book in it. And you basically, a lot of us old 80s witches are spirit led because we did not have that kind of information. So I am greatly spirit led with a lot of the things that I do. Well, anyway, my first husband and I, we had gone to New Orleans, and we were strolling around the French Quarter, and I saw this ring. I might even still have it somewhere. And it was a ring, and it had a scorpion inside the ring, like a scorpion, a little baby scorpion had been trapped on this little cabochon and covered up. And I was like, that is the way coolest ring, the scorpion ring. It'll probably help to give me power and blah, blah, blah. Keeping in mind that I was not as well versed 30 years ago as I am now. I was pretty much just trying to find my way back then. And so I purchased this ring. I didn't put it on while I was there. I got home, and I remember taking it out of my luggage, and I put that ring on. And within not even 1 second, felt like something was going through my finger. My arm was like in a vice. And I could feel this thing traveling up, this energy traveling up my arm. And I'm like, oh shit. And I'm trying to get the ring off. I couldn't get the ring off. It felt like there was fire in my arm, and I got really sick. I was sick for probably a good 2 weeks behind that. And I realized, of course, after that, I said, you know what? I wonder how that little baby scorpion felt when it was stuck and dying, when it was stuck on this ring. Nobody made offerings to its soul or did anything like that. I had an angry scorpion spirit in this ring that I just put on my left side that receives, because our left, we receive things. And this thing literally got inside me and made me sick. And it was after that, it was that hard lesson that let me know that anything that I come in contact that involves an animal, I will make an offering to the animal soul. I will bless that soul. I will thank them for, you know, for giving their lives up so that I could have this tool. And this didn't just happen to me. This has happened to other people. I had someone come to me who just did not feel good. They were just getting sicker and sicker, and they were angry. They didn't know what was going on. And so I did a burn on them first so I could read the ash to see what was going on with them. And it was I wish I'd taken a picture. It was the perfect picture of a shark. It looked, I mean, everything, the fins, everything. And I'm looking at this picture of the shark, and I looked up at him and realized he was wearing a shark tooth necklace. And I said, "Where'd you get that necklace?" And he said, "My girlfriend gave it to me." I said, "Did you, before you put it on, did you cleanse it or make any offerings to the soul of the shark?" He goes, "No, I just put it on." He had an angry shark spirit. Who knows how that shark was killed? That was still harboring that energy, and he put it around his neck, and it affected him. So if you want to use things from pieces from the animal world, that's fine, but make sure that you acknowledge the soul of that animal and bless that soul and cleanse that jewelry, because you don't want to do that. You know, pearls are known as actually bad luck. And the reason that they're known as bad luck, as beautiful as they are, because I love pearls. One of my engagement rings was a pearl ring, so I like the way it represents the moon. But they were considered bad luck because of the way they killed the oysters and to get the shells with no thought or feeling towards the animal inside that shell. And so it carried the fear and the anxieties. You know, here's an animal that's ripped out of its environment, popped open, you know, scooped out the pain, the fear, the anxiety, the anger, all goes in there. And then you're going to put that on your hand or wear it around your neck or wear it on your ears. And so if you're going to utilize, you know, animal bones and things like that, and there are a lot of very responsible people out there that will go. I knew a guy who creates custom runes, and he would go looking for like roadkill of deers that had fallen or got hit on the side of the road, and use those antlers or those things that had already been gone and passed away, and then he would bless the souls of them and things like that, so that you got a clean piece of bone that he would then carve the runes into. And so I just want to caution you that if you decide that you want to work with animal items, bones or feathers or things like that, first investigate. Because if you go on eBay and to buy like peacock feather rings, there will be people on there that say these feathers come from the natural fallout, the natural shedding of the peacocks. And so you can do that and get something like that. Even leather, when you have a leather coat on, even though leather is a part of the food industry, because, you know, they take the cows and they, you know, they butcher the cows so that you can eat the cows, still you want to go ahead and bless that leather coat that you're wearing, or that leather skirt. Bless the soul of the animal that got sacrificed so that you could wear that skirt or that jacket, because you don't know what that animal was feeling. Their pain, they feel pain and anxiety and fear and everything else. And if they're in that state because they know what's going on, they know when their time is up, you don't want to wear that energy. It can really cause, a lot of people will buy things to bring them good luck, and things may end up, things get worse because they didn't take the time to clear that. Now there's another way also that I have used animal magic with shape-shifting. And I had gone to Arizona with one of my friends, and we were visiting one of her friends, and in front of this woman's house there was this big giant steep hill, and all I had was flip-flops, and it was a very rocky hill, and I'm looking at it, and they had sneakers on, so they, you know, just climbed up the hill, and I'm looking at this hill, and I'm like, I don't want to climb up here with my flip-flops. I'm probably going to fall on my ass. And then I said, you know what, I'm a goat. And I literally felt myself like shapeshift. I walked up that mountain with no problem in my flip-flops. And when I was coming back down because it's steep, I said, I'm a goat. And I turned into a goat, and I just navigated with no problems, no slipping, didn't fall down, anything at all. So you can actually shapeshift into an animal that would represent something that you need to help you. You can take on those characteristics. And I've used that very well. I enjoy shape-shifting. So anyway, that's what I have to say about animal magic. And if there's anything else that you would like to add about that before we go on, because I love animals. I'm like you, Soul. I love animals. I probably should have been a sanctuary keeper or something. I would be in my element if all I had to do was work with animals all day long, because I just love them so much. I'm a huge animal lover. So that's what I have to say about animal magic. Do you want to add anything to that before we continue? We've got time to do one more.
Other than to say I agree with you entirely about all the offerings and everything. I mean, originally, if you really look back at it, when you mention the coat that people are wearing from the animals and everything, people forget that one of the things that they did, the reason that people used to bless food and everything, was to say that they're offering thanks and blessings to the animals that gave up their lives for them to eat. All of that came from the blessing of food and everything else. So it should be done for everything that you're dealing with, the animals or the plants or whatever else. They are beings, and you should be saying a blessing and a thank you. So I agree with wholeheartedly with what you said.
All right, we've got time for one more before, and then let's see. I just want to take a look. Excuse me. I still can't believe how many. I think we can probably, there's still, oh my God, there's still like 3 pages left. That's okay, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting a real education from all of this.
Yes, yes,
yes. What's next up?
Okay, the next one, that'll be you, Goddess, and it's the sanguine.
Oh, there it is. I see it. Okay, sanguine magic. Meaning blood or blood red color in Latin, a type of magic that deals with blood or other life-giving fluid. Lifeblood can also be represented through things such as water or nutrients, a term for those who work with blood and life-oriented magic. Now, I have to tell you, whenever I like prick my finger or do something that causes me to bleed, I make a wish, because I believe that's a blood sacrifice that I have made. There are lots of people that actually work with blood. There are these saying vampires that work with blood or drink blood to fuel them up for whatever works that they are doing. There is also witches that do, I can't think of any other way to phrase it, but menstrual magic, where they use their menses, their cycles, and the blood that comes from it to do magic and work with that, because blood contains tremendous amounts of life force energy that, if channeled, can be used very, very well. Now, of course, I don't suggest that, you go out and kill somebody just so that you can drain them of their blood or whatever. If you want to sit and cut yourself and use your own blood, that's perfectly fine. There are actually, for the same vampires and even energy vampires, there are actually donor sites where you can get a donor who will donate their blood to you, so that you can do a lot of things with blood. I personally do not do blood magic, but like I said, well, I guess I do, because if I prick my finger or cut myself, I will immediately make a wish and say that was a blood sacrifice to get something that I wanted. And that's just something I do. It just came to, maybe it's something I did in another lifetime. I don't know. So I guess I practice a small form of it, because I don't go around cutting myself every day. It's just when I do get a paper cut or prick myself or whatever, that I will do that. But there are witches and magicians out there who do utilize blood magic. Some of them will use animal blood, or chicken blood, beef blood, things like that, in order to do it. And some of them will use human blood, their own human blood, or the human blood of a donor, because of the life force energy that it contains. I personally, if I prick my own finger and use my own blood, I don't have a problem with that. It's my blood, my wish, my rules, my game. But I don't know that I would use a donor's blood, even if someone willingly said, you know what, Rhonda, here, you can use my blood. I probably would be hesitant to do that, because I don't know what spiritual shape that person is in. And because your blood would carry that, if they've got a chaotic life, or they're depressed, or they're anxious, or they've got all these other things going on, that's going to come in through their blood. And I don't want their energies actually ruining the purity of my magic. But that's just my, opinion on that. I'm sure that there are blood magicians out there that, work it and do their thing, and they do perfectly well with it, and rock on, that's your thing. But I personally would be very hesitant to use someone else's blood or even animal blood if I was the one that had to kill that animal, because animals know, just like if you're going to be marched to the chopping block and they're going to cut your head off, you're going to be in a state of panic. Well, those animals, they know when their time is up, when they've been caught or trapped. They're in a state of panic too, and that energy goes into the blood: fear, anxiety, hatred, whatever it is. So again, if you're going to do that, I strongly suggest that you do whatever spiritual work is required to clear that blood. Now, you can also use alternative forms. You can take water and add wine to it, or red food coloring to it, and use that as a substitution for it. There's a recipe to make dove's blood to write on your parchment paper, and you're certainly not going to go out and kill a dove. There's a formula that you can use to create that. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. And even if you think of, if you were raised in the Christian church and you took communion, where they would hold up the wine and say, this wine is the blood of Christ, that you're taking of the blood of Christ to clear yourself up and bless and cleanse yourself. So even in the Christian church, technically, blood magic is used, even though they're using wine as a substitution. They are still using blood magic. So that's what I have to say on it at the moment off the top of my head. What about you, Goddess Star?
A lot of things that you said, very much in the same way too. I personally would not wear blood. The only thing that I would do is with the ink, like the dragon's blood ink or the dragon's blood, blood moon oil and things like that. Like that, that's all from the rest is dragon's blood. So that's as much as I would do. But I know people who, like you said, have used their Mensa, the monthly Mensa, and they put it in their love magic or magic, and that's on them. Me personally, I don't agree with any of that, because when they work magic with your Mensa, it's tying yourself to that person, and not just tying that person to you, but now you're no matter what you tie to, So a lot of blood magic are tying people, whether you want to be, whether that person is right for you or not, you're tying yourself to that person. So it's a two-way street with blood magic. So you have to be careful about it. I do hand fasting, where the cup and the blood right also belong to the family. So they take the chalice and they slice their fingertips, and they do the blood rite and everything. I did the whole ritual with them, and this was done with their part. I didn't touch anything. This was done between the two of them, and they've been married. Well, I think it's 7 or 8 years now, and it's maybe a little bit more. I can't remember, but they've been married happily and they've never had any issues. And they were doing marriage. That's very different. So it all of that depends, and they were doing it. Of course, this is what they wanted to do. They brought everything, and they did the jumping of the broom and the whole bit. So it all depends on blood magic, how you're doing it. Remember when they did practical magic, and I forgot one of the aunts said, "Be careful what you wish for," and she plunged the pin into the bird. That was a blood magic for love. Whenever you do any kind of blood magic when it pertains to love or anything like that, there's a lot of times it's not the most right magic. A lot of negative things come from that, because even if that person is the wrong person for you, you're tied to that person. And there's a whole ritual to do to untie all of that. And it's very tedious. It's many times to be undone, and a lot of times there's still a strain or a train of a thread that's still tied to that person. So I don't use web magic. I don't. That's just me personally. All right.
I can dig it. And we've got Nate, who Nate, you are such a font of wisdom. I think we're going to have you as a guest
I
on
know.
our show.
I've always said that. He's
Yeah,
so
yes. We need to have you as a guest. He says if you have a relationship with a particular spirit of the land someplace, it may show you where to collect animal parts. This has happened to me many dozens of times. That relationship started because I would carry a hefty bag where I hiked and picked up all the litter and did land cleansings on the soil and the water, which is a very beautiful thing. I was even gifted a whole deer backbone. And then their blood will also tie you to their ancestors. Be careful. You can then become part of a really deep contract without knowing the details. So, be careful with that. And I'm glad that you'd love to be on our show, because we are definitely going to have you on our show, because I've learned a lot from you. Just sit with you in the chat room. So I'm sure if we have you on, you can really help to elevate all of our wisdom and our knowledge, and we would just love to have you.
And he
all right, so let's.
And really quickly, Nate said something there that was interesting about you create a contract there with the blood, and that whole thing, that revocation spell that I was talking about, and to remove contracts, then you would have to add that other part to it when you have a blood right, because any kind of ties with blood even becomes more of a tedious and longer process of contracts to break, because you're breaking a contract with, whether it's with that animal or the person that's maybe have moved on or different things. Those are hard contracts to break because you did it in blood. It's the reason why they used to say to people, they know for sure they have a contract with you for life and beyond, is to let's sign it in blood. Okay, just so you know, Nate is absolutely right. Contracts in blood are hard to break. So be careful what you do. All right, that's wonderful. Thank you, Nate.
Thank you, Nate. All right, so marking for next week, starting off, will be with sigil. So let's highlight that so we know where we left off.
Right, I'm going to do that right now.
Put that there. Me too.
Where is it?
And so, as always, we thank you so much for joining us with our show. Even, I always say that one day Goddess Star and I, we're going to have a real studio with all this very way cool fancy equipment. And so we appreciate even your patience as we work out our technical issues with feedback and things that we try when we're trying to get the show started, that we have to go through. You guys, you had said something, J.K., earlier up higher in the chat room, where you're like, this is where I love to go to have my coffee and meet a group of friends. And that's literally what it feels like. It feels like coming together with my friends and with family, and seeing all of you. It uplifts my whole day to be within your energy, your support, and your love, and your patience, and your wisdom. Because the same way we try to elevate your wisdom, you are constantly elevating ours. Absolutely. And we really do appreciate that, and we just love you to pieces. Mwah, as always.
As always, thank you guys so much from both of us. Okay.
And so, with that said, we say Merry Meet,
Merry Part, and Merry Meet.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Oh, and happy full moon.
Happy 4th of July. Full moon. Happy 4th of July, or as
happy 4th of July. Yay. Hey, take advantage of this fire. But we should talk about doing firework magic, because you could write what you want on a firecracker and bang. So you might want to think that, or sparklers, or utilize the day. So anyway, we will see you next week.
Absolutely.
And again, many blessings to you, and thank you so much. And God is blessed.
God is blessed you all.
Good night, everyone.